All right, so are you ready for a deep dive?
Oh, yeah, I'm ready.
Because we've got some serious media drama to unpack today.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
We're talking about MSNBC, the news network,
Okay, so what about it?
and the possibility of it getting a complete makeover.
A makeover. What does that even mean for a news network?
Well, that's where things get really interesting.
Okay, lay it on me.
We're talking Elon Musk
Oh, wow, Musk is involved.
and Donald Trump Jr.
Wait, seriously? Musk and Trump Jr.
Yep, they're the ones who could be behind this whole shakeup.
Now that's a combo I didn't see coming.
Right. Can you believe those two might join forces to buy MSNBC?
It's almost too crazy to believe.
I know, it's like a media match made in, well, somewhere.
What's captivating about this is the clash of ideologies. MSNBC is known for its left-leaning perspective.
And Musk and Trump Jr. are, let's just say, on the other side of the spectrum.
Exactly. So you've got this potential for a head-on collision of viewpoints.
It's definitely a story with a lot of layers to peel back.
And we've got a mountain of sources to dig through.
We're talking news articles breaking it all down.
Expert opinions weighing in with predictions.
And of course, the ever-so-lively world of social media commentary.
All adding fuel to the fire.
So where do we even begin with this one?
Well, first we need to understand why MSNBC is even on the market.
Oh, right. That's a good starting point.
It's their parent company, Comcast, who's put them up for sale.
And have they said why?
Officially, no.
That's interesting.
But it's probably tied to those declining ratings.
Yeah, traditional cable news is having a tough time these days.
You've got online news sources, streaming services, everyone's fighting for viewers.
Makes sense. People are changing how they consume news.
Precisely. And that's where our dynamic duo enters the scene.
Musk and Trump Jr.
The very same. Remember that playful exchange they had on X, formerly Twitter?
Oh, yeah, I remember seeing something about that.
Trump Jr. just casually asked Musk how much MSNBC would cost.
And Musk.
Responded with a meme.
A meme? Come on, that's so cryptic.
I know. It was like he was seriously considering it, but in a very tongue-in-cheek way.
And we can't forget that lovely comment Musk made about MSNBC.
Oh, you mean the utter scum of the earth remark?
Yep, that one.
Not exactly subtle, is he?
No, not at all. He definitely knows how to stir the pot.
Well, it worked. It poured gasoline on an already fiery situation.
Especially for some conservative commentators over at Sky News.
Yeah, they're practically throwing a party.
Celebrating the potential downfall of MSNBC.
They see it as this bastion of liberal bias, so they're relishing the thought of it being taken down a peg.
But it's not all celebrations, right?
Yeah.
There's real concern on the other side, too.
Oh, absolutely. Some MSNBC hosts are straight up worried.
They're using this term media capture, which sounds kind of ominous.
Yeah, it's like something out of a dystopian novel.
Could you break down what that means for those of us who aren't media experts?
Sure. Essentially, media capture is when powerful people...
Entities.
Right. Entities, too. They gain control of media outlets to manipulate the information being shared.
And they do it to benefit themselves, their ideologies.
Exactly. It's like turning a loudspeaker into a propaganda machine, you know?
Okay, I'm starting to see the concern here.
It's not just about owning a media outlet.
It's about controlling the narrative.
Exactly. Shaping public perception to fit a particular agenda.
So, in this context, some MSNBC folks are worried that Musk and Trump Jr. might use their power to push their own views.
It's a legitimate fear, especially given their track record.
That plays into this whole trend of declining trust in mainstream media.
Oh, big time. People are losing faith in traditional news sources.
And turning to alternative platforms instead.
You've got independent journalists, Substack newsletters, a whole landscape is shifting.
So this MSNBC situation, it's like a magnifying glass on this bigger media crisis.
Exactly. It's a microcosm of the challenges facing the entire industry.
Let's say this acquisition actually happens.
Okay, let's play that scenario out.
What kind of impact are the experts predicting?
The rumor mill is churning, that's for sure.
But what are they saying? Big changes, small tweaks.
Think major overhaul, possibly even a complete rebranding.
Wow, that's huge. Yeah. Are we talking new name, new logo, the whole shebang?
Potentially. Think about what happened when Tribune Media acquired local TV stations.
Oh, right. There were a lot of shakeups after that.
Exactly. Format changes, staff layoffs. It was a whole new ballgame.
So something similar could happen at MSNBC.
It's definitely a possibility, and it's got people on edge.
I bet. From the anchors we see on screen to the stories they cover, it could be a completely different network.
It's like hitting the reset button on the whole operation.
Talk about a media earthquake.
A seismic shift, for sure. And it's ignited some fiery reactions.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is big news. Who's been particularly vocal?
Jim Vandehei, the CEO of Axios, had what some might call a meltdown.
Really? A meltdown? What set him off?
He's a huge defender of traditional journalism.
Got it. So he's not exactly a fan of Musk shaking things up.
Not at all. His argument is that Musk, despite his wealth and platform, isn't a journalist.
So he shouldn't have this much influence over the news.
Exactly. Vandehei is concerned about editorial interference, and that's a sentiment a lot of MSNBC hosts echo.
They're already worried about this potential takeover.
And Vandehei's comments just amplified those anxieties.
It's like this clash between the old guard of journalism and the new wave of tech-driven media.
And this whole MSNBC situation is right at the heart of that conflict.
So how do we, as viewers, navigate this changing media landscape?
It's tricky, that's for sure. We're in uncharted territory here.
Especially with figures like Musk who have so much influence through technology.
Right. Traditional news outlets are struggling to adapt, and these tech giants are shaking things up.
It feels like the rules of the game are changing right before our eyes.
That's a great way to put it. The old playbook doesn't apply anymore.
So what do we do?
Well, it all comes down to media literacy.
Media literacy. Okay, break that down for me.
We need to be savvy consumers of information, able to critically evaluate different sources.
I'm just taking everything at face value.
Exactly. Recognizing potential biases, whether it's from established networks or influential figures on social media.
So we need to be more discerning, more critical of what we're reading and watching.
Precisely. Think of it like being a detective, constantly looking for clues and piecing together the bigger picture.
That sounds like a lot of work.
It is, but it's crucial in today's media environment.
So this whole MSNBC saga, it's not just about one network.
It's a much bigger story about the future of news and how we consume information.
Right. And it's happening right now as we speak.
It's a wake-up call for all of us to become more aware, more engaged, more critical.
Because if we're not careful, we risk losing sight of what's real and what's not.
And in this age of information overload, that's a dangerous place to be. It's fascinating how this potential sale is stirring up so much anxiety, you know?
Yeah, it's like this primal fear of losing something familiar.
Right. Like that trusted source of information that you've relied on for years.
It's almost like this situation is a mirror.
A mirror reflecting our anxieties about the future of news.
Exactly. Are we heading towards a world where only certain voices get heard?
And where others get silenced.
That's a chilling thought.
It is, and it's not just about MSNBC either.
Right, this is bigger than just one network.
This trend of wealthy individuals and corporations taking control of news outlets, it's happening everywhere.
And it raises some serious questions about bias.
And the concentration of media ownership, who gets to control the narrative?
So we've got MSNBC, often seen as representing the left.
Potentially being taken over by figures associated with the right.
Does that reflect a larger shift in our political landscape?
Bleeding into the world of media, absolutely.
It's like everything is viewed through this partisan lens these days.
And the media is right in the crosshairs.
We're seeing news outlets catering to specific audiences.
Creating these echo chambers where people only hear what they want to hear.
How do we even begin to bridge that divide?
It's a tough one, for sure.
Yeah, it feels like we're drifting further and further apart.
But recognizing the problem is the first step.
Okay, so awareness is key.
We need to be aware of our own biases, challenge our assumptions.
Not just surrounding ourselves with people who agree with us.
Exactly. We need to actively seek out diverse viewpoints, even if they make us uncomfortable.
It's about being open to the possibility that we might be wrong.
And being willing to listen and learn from those who see things differently.
Easier said than done, though.
It's absolutely. It takes effort, a conscious choice to step outside our comfort zones.
It's like building a muscle, the ability to engage with different perspectives.
You got it. And it's crucial for a healthy democracy.
Imagine a world where we only talk to those who agree with us.
We never grow, never learn, never evolve.
That's a scary thought.
It is. That's why it's important to create spaces for these conversations to happen.
Safe spaces where people can respectfully disagree.
And that's where initiatives like Standing in the Gaps come in.
Oh, right. We were going to talk about them.
They're doing amazing work in trying to bridge those divides.
And promote understanding between people with different views.
Their mission is all about finding common ground.
Even when there's disagreement.
They believe everyone has something valuable to contribute, regardless of their political leanings.
It's a tough mission, but someone's got to do it.
We need more initiatives like theirs, focusing on building bridges instead of walls.
reminding us that we're all in this together.
Trying to navigate this complex world.
Okay, so we've talked about this potential for a major shift at MSNBC.
And the anxieties it's stirring up.
But we can't ignore the role social media is playing in all of this.
Oh, social media, that double-edged sword.
It's like wildfire, the way news spreads on those platforms.
It can be incredibly powerful, but also incredibly dangerous.
The MSNBC news is exploding online.
And social media is shaping the narrative, for better or for worse.
It can give a voice to the voiceless.
But it can also be a breeding ground for misinformation.
It's tricky to navigate, that's for sure.
Algorithms prioritize engagement over accuracy,
So the most outrageous stuff gets amplified,
leading to more fear, more anger, more distrust.
making it even harder to have nuanced conversations.
Everything gets reduced to sound bites and slogans.
No room for complexity, no room for understanding.
It's like a shouting match, where no one is really listening.
So how do we use social media wisely in this age of information overload?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Do you have any strategies for avoiding the pitfalls?
Well, it all starts with awareness.
Okay, so being mindful of how it works.
Understanding how social media can impact our thoughts and emotions.
Not letting it control us.
Exactly. Remember, it's a curated version of reality.
It's like the highlight reel, not the whole game.
We need to be intentional about what we consume and share.
Being critical thinkers, not just accepting everything we see.
And let's not forget the human element.
Right. There are real people behind those profiles.
Treat each other with respect and empathy even when we disagree.
Online interactions should be no different than face-to-face conversations.
We're all human beings trying to make sense of this world.
And we can do that better together if we approach each other with compassion and understanding.
Beautifully said. And while we're on the topic of building a better world,
Let's revisit Standing in the Gaps and their GoFundMe campaign.
their work is so relevant to what we've been talking about,
Creating spaces for those difficult conversations.
showing us that it is possible to disagree respectfully and still find common ground. They're doing the hard work, bridging divides, recognizing that we can learn from each other.
Even when we don't see eye to eye.
And they need our support to keep going.
We'll include a link to their campaign in the show notes, so check it out. Okay, back to MSNBC.
And this potential media shakeup.
We've talked about the anxieties surrounding this acquisition.
But not everyone is dreading this change.
Right, some people are actually excited about the possibility of a new perspective.
A fresh voice in the media landscape.
They're hoping it might lead to a more balanced approach to news coverage.
Less partisan, more focused on facts.
It's like shaking up any industry. There's uncertainty, disruption.
But also the potential for innovation and positive change.
Some viewers are genuinely curious to see what a new ownership might bring.
New programming, new content, a different way of doing things.
It's that mix of fear and excitement that comes with any major shift,
And this one is particularly intriguing because it involves a major news network.
which plays such a crucial role in shaping public discourse.
How we understand the world, the narratives we believe.
So while there are valid concerns about this potential acquisition,
There's also a sense of possibility.
like we're on the cusp of something new.
It will be fascinating to see how it all unfolds.
It certainly will. A real media drama playing out in real time.
It reminds us that change is a constant, especially in the media world.
Always adapting to new technologies, evolving audience preferences.
And it's up to us to engage with that change thoughtfully and constructively.
We need to be critical thinkers, informed consumers,
Active participants in shaping the kind of media landscape we want to see.
using our voices and choices to influence the future of news and information.
Well said. This MSNBC situation is a prime example of why that active participation is so important.
The media landscape is not static, it's dynamic, ever-changing.
And we have a say in how it evolves.
So let's broaden the lens a bit.
Okay, zoom out to the bigger picture.
What does this potential sale say about the future of media ownership?
And the influence of technology on how we consume news.
It's like this situation is holding a magnifying glass.
Up to the biggest challenges facing the media industry today.
On one hand, traditional news organizations are struggling.
Trying to adapt to the digital age, facing declining revenues.
On the other hand, you've got tech giants with enormous resources.
And wealthy individuals with the power to disrupt the entire ecosystem.
It feels like a power shift is happening right before our eyes.
The rules of the game are changing, and the stakes are high.
So where do we go from here?
That's the big question, and there's no easy answer.
But we can't just sit back and watch as things unfold.
We need to be proactive, engaged, informed.
So it's not just about passively watching this MSNBC story unfold.
It's about actively participating in the conversation.
Asking critical questions, demanding more from the media we consume.
We can't let the future of news be dictated by a select few.
Whether it's media moguls or tech giants.
We need to advocate for a more diverse and accountable media ecosystem.
One that serves all citizens, not just a select few. That's a powerful call to action.
And it brings us back to that crucial idea of media literacy.
Equipping ourselves with the tools to critically evaluate information.
Recognizing bias, seeking out diverse perspectives.
Becoming savvy navigators of the information landscape.
Able to separate fact from fiction, signal from noise.
And demanding more from the media we consume.
Holding them accountable for accuracy, fairness, and serving the public interest.
So this MSNBC situation, it's more than just a juicy media story.
It's a wake-up call.
A reminder that the future of media is not predetermined.
It's something we are actively shaping every single day with our choices and actions. That's a powerful message to keep in mind as we navigate this evolving media landscape.
You know, it's kind of wild to hear this term media capture being used in relation to American media.
Yeah, it's a bit unsettling, isn't it?
It's something you usually hear about in, like, authoritarian regimes.
Right. Not exactly what you'd expect in a country that champions freedom of the press.
So this idea that wealthy individuals could use their money to sway the direction of the news.
It's a legitimate concern, especially in a democracy.
Where a free and independent press is supposed to be the cornerstone.
Exactly. It's like, how do we even know what to believe anymore?
If this acquisition goes through, are we just going to get news that's tailored to fit certain agendas?
Well, that's the danger, right? It underscores why media literacy is so crucial these days.
Media literacy. Okay, we keep coming back to that.
Because we can't just blindly accept whatever information is thrown at us.
We can't be passive consumers anymore.
Right. We need to be critical thinkers, questioning sources, evaluating different perspectives.
Spotting those potential biases.
Exactly. It's like we need to become media detectives, constantly on the lookout.
For clues, for inconsistencies, for anything that seems off.
Right. But how do we do that when we're drowning in information from every direction?
That's the challenge, right? It's overwhelming.
Well, one key strategy is to diversify your news diet.
Okay, so not just relying on one source.
Exactly. Don't get stuck in an echo chamber.
Branch out, explore different perspectives, even those that challenge your own views.
It's like getting a second opinion from a doctor. You want a more complete picture.
Makes sense. But it can still be tough to sift through all the noise.
Oh, for sure. But there are resources out there that can help.
Like what? Give me some examples.
There are organizations dedicated to promoting media literacy.
Okay, so groups that teach you how to think critically about the news.
Exactly. And even something as simple as using fact-checking websites can be helpful.
Oh, right. Fact-checking. That's crucial.
Don't just take things at face value. Take a few minutes to verify, especially if something seems sensational or biased.
Good advice. And speaking of organizations doing great work in this space.
You're talking about standing in the gaps.
The very same. Their mission really resonates with everything we've been discussing.
Oh, absolutely. They're all about fostering understanding between people with different viewpoints.
Recognizing that we can learn from each other, even when we disagree.
They use storytelling and open dialogue to bridge those divides.
Which is so needed in today's world, where everyone seems to be shouting at each other.
It's like they're creating a safe space for those tough conversations to happen.
Reminding us that it is possible to engage respectfully and thoughtfully, even when we have different opinions.
And their work feels even more relevant now, given this whole MSNBC situation.
They're doing really important work, and they need our support.
They're actually running a GoFundMe campaign right now to help them expand their reach.
We'll be sure to include a link in the show notes, so check it out if you're interested.
Every little bit helps.
Okay, back to this potential media earthquake with MSNBC.
It's been a whirlwind of a story, hasn't it?
It really has, and it's stirred up a lot of emotions for a lot of people.
It's tapped into this deep-seated anxiety about the future of news.
And the role it plays in shaping our understanding of the world.
You're right. It's raised some fundamental questions that we as a society need to confront.
Questions about media ownership, about bias, about the influence of technology.
And the very definition of what it means to be an informed citizen in this digital age.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
What are your final thoughts?
I'm left wondering what this potential change at MSNBC tells us about the future.
The future of media, the relationship between technology and political ideologies, it's all intertwined.
Is this a sign of things to come or just an isolated incident?
I think it's a bit of both, to be honest.
It highlights this trend we're seeing across the board.
This blurring of lines between traditional news, tech platforms, and political influence.
And as technology continues to evolve, those lines are likely to get even blurrier. So what can we do? Are we just passengers on this train?
No way! We have agency, we have power.
But how do we exercise that power?
It starts with awareness, recognizing how our choices as consumers shape the media landscape.
You mean where we get our news, what we share on social media, that kind of stuff?
Exactly. We're not just passive observers, we're active participants.
So we need to be more intentional, more critical.
Demand better from the media we consume.
Hold those in power accountable, whether it's media moguls or tech giants.
And support organizations like Standing in the Gaps, who are working to create a better media ecosystem.
Because the future of media isn't set in stone.
It's something we're creating together every single day.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the potential shakeup at MSNBC.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been a thought-provoking conversation, to say the least.
I hope our listeners will continue to explore these questions with us.
Because they're not going away anytime soon.
Keep those critical thinking caps on, folks.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged.
The future of media depends on it.